I just found out, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to put this out somehow or another. We just found out that I can't use this during a power outage. Now, of course, you know that we live off grid, so the power outage didn't affect me. I didn't know anything about it. And it's daylight, so who knew that the electric was out? There's no street lights or anything. I mean, there was just no indication that the power was out, which is typical for us. We usually don't know. I think the last time we had a power outage, it was 2 or 3 days before we realized there was a power outage. We got on Facebook, and there's a city near us, town, whatever you want to call it, and they have a Facebook page, and they were saying how the power went out. Well, I just found out you're not allowed to use this during a power outage. You have to use a propane heater. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to get this out. I guess they saw me lighting it. I mean, there's a little bit of smoke that comes out of this wood stove when I'm lighting it, but once I shut the door, then there's no smoke. So maybe they won't even notice, and we just let this burn out. And then after that, I guess I'll have to use the buddy heater. I found this really interesting, that during a power outage, you can only use propane. I thought that was strange. What we have to do if there was a SHTF. Now, SHTF is what these preppers call stuff hits the fan. Of course, they got to cuss in their videos. I don't like to cuss, so I call it stuff hits the fan. And so when stuff hits the fan, my interpretation of what they're telling me when stuff hits the fan is it's going to be a long-term event. Years or decades. Now, when I think of SHTF, I would think like a depression, a Great Depression. That would be pretty significant to me. And I would think that we want to prepare for that. But as far as a nuclear blast in space, cutting down the power lines for decades and all that, well, I guess, I mean, people are worried about it. I have all my power equipment inside a metal shed, so it acts like a Faraday cage. Now, remember, I'm not a prepper, but it acts like a Faraday cage. I can't get a cell phone signal in there when the doors are closed. I'm not sure how this is going to work. When you're in SHTF and you're running propane, eventually you're going to run out of propane, and eventually you're going to get cold. Now, I'm being a little sarcastic. Nobody came and told me that I had to shut down my wood stove. But I have been told that I am not prepared for SHTF by a YouTube channel who was criticizing my abilities to be prepared. He runs a propane heater. He also runs an electric heater. Now, he criticized me for having propane appliances. So my water heater, for example, runs off a 20-pound propane tank. But again, I can warm water on top of the wood stove, or in the summertime, I can warm it outside on the firewood, or I can just put it in the sun in a black tub, which I've done before. So I don't need the propane for the water heater. We use propane to cook with, but I have shown you in the past that Carolyn has this whole setup outside. I don't understand the philosophy of prepping. Another example that I get a lot, I don't understand, is we can meat. And we're pretty proficient at it. I've got it down to the science now. I mean, I can just move through the steps. And I do it through I do it for several weeks at a time, months at a time. And then I take a long break because we just don't need any more canned food. But we go buy chicken, or when we butcher chickens, pork, bacon, hamburger, beef, whatever you want to can, deer. The preppers tell you you have to buy rice and beans, which is fine if you want to eat rice and beans. Now, we're carnivores, so we don't eat any carbohydrates. We only eat meat, eggs, and cheese. Of course, during SHTF, it'd be meat and eggs. We don't eat any beans. So that means you got to have this massive garden. It would have to be acres in order to get yourself enough food to get through any length of time through a winter. You know, you have to produce food in the summer and have to have enough for a year. You wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't have enough property. So that means you have to stockpile, or you have to buy these really expensive MRE things. And I just don't understand it. If you're more self-sufficient and you don't rely on cash to bring things into you, then how am I not prepared. Now, again, I'm not a prepper. I don't go around in a big panic, scared to death that the world's going to come to the end every day, making videos. Oh, here it comes. We're coming. It's the end of the world today. I watch this one YouTuber. He talks about the end of the world every day. Every day. This is it. We're done. And you go back 3 or 4 months, you're like, well, what happened here? I thought we were done back here. I mean, every day we're going to war. I mean, just like 2 weeks ago, he said Colorado just declared war on the United States. And I've been really following the news. I mean, really following the news. And I'm trying to think, you would think that this would make the headlines somewhere. I mean, I'm not going to travel out to Colorado, especially if they're declared war on the United States. But aren't they sending troops? What is Colorado doing? Or are they sending troops our way? I don't know. He didn't explain what's happening, and I haven't heard a word about it since. So, China, they're declared war on us several times now. It's every civil war. It's constant. And I can't think where to find this information. I'm always lost. So I feel like that we're probably 90, 95, 98% self-sufficient. The food would be an issue. If SHTF were to happen, the food would be an issue. But no more so than the preppers with their stockpile. We have several, probably a year and a half's worth of food. It's not stockpile, it's just stuff we canned. So that would give us time to figure out what we're going to do. But my thinking is there's plenty of raccoons and possums and just all kind of rabbits that we could start to accumulate to kind of get us through the hump. And of course, we know how to can meat. So as soon as I caught a possum or a raccoon, I would can it right up. That way it wouldn't get away from us. Got a little warmer in front of this wood stove that I'm not supposed to have. One of the things you have to consider about hunting is everybody else is going to be hunting too. I see so many people in the comments section of my videos and preppers, I'm just going to go out and hunt for my food. Well, then you're going to be fighting for your life because everybody else is going to be out there hunting, and it's going to be a war zone. I really wouldn't want to be out there. So unless the food comes right in front of the house, I would stay out of the woods. I forgot to mention, I have 15 years worth of firewood. So that would get me a long ways if SHTF were to happen today. Then, you'd have to start accumulating firewood as you go along, somehow or another, whether you find an axe or some sort of saw. Of course, we use a manual maul, splittering maul. So we've already tried to do it without a lot of modern technologies because you're not going to have any gasoline. So you got to be able to do it by hand. So it's a good thing to have a large supply of certain items as long as you have a plan to restock it later, such as our food. We have a plan on how to restock it, which I didn't mention. As soon as SHTF were to happen, I would immediately start incubating eggs. No matter what time of the year it was, I'd figure out a way to keep them warm. We could bring them in here to keep them warm. We'd incubate them and we'd start mass producing chickens. Probably would let them free range. Of course, you'd lose some, but if you're mass producing that many, one after another, it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't necessarily be raising chickens just for the eggs anymore. You'd be raising them for the meat. So even if you were doing it towards the end of the year, towards the fall, you could get them through the winter and have food in 8 to 10 weeks, 12 weeks, something like that, 18 weeks. Constantly reproducing to add on to whatever you have stockpiled. But I never hear any preppers talking like that. So I got an email the other day because this is important to me. I think preppers, I don't want to say are dangerous, but they convince people to do things. You'll make it just fine with a solar generator. Click the link in the description below. I think that's dangerous, that you can convince somebody to believe that you can live off a solar generator for, these things, the best ones seem to only last 3 days. It'll power your entire house. Well, not really. It's kind of a false advertisement. If you're not recharging them, if you don't have solar, if you don't have a plan, if you haven't tested it, how are you going to get it to charge? All that stuff. Regular generators, I got a generator. Okay, you're great until you run out of gas, and then what are you going to do? And nobody really discusses what they're going to do. I mean, I would have an idea how to get more gas. There'd be cars all up and down highways, just abandoned cars, I would think, and you could go get gasoline out of them. I mean, if it's SHTF, it's not like everybody's going to be using their vehicles, I guess. Might be something to consider. I'm not telling anybody to steal. I'm just saying in a situation of survival, that might be an option. But I never hear anybody talk like that. So I got an email from Sheila. I'm going to read it to you. Now, normally I don't read things on YouTube. I've only done it a few times in really important situations. But this one kind of touched me because it's true. This is what I've been trying to convey to people, that you need to be more self-sustaining and less stockpiling. You can only stockpile so much, and then you're just going to run out of room. So Sheila says, and I got her permission to read this with her name and all that stuff. I will have to say, when I started my journey, venture, whatever she wants to call it, I was going to be a prepper. Thanks to you, before I got into that much, I found you. I truly, if not for you, I would have went off the deep end. The fear that preppers instill into people is crazy. I want to be just off grid. I did not know what it was called, but thank you. After 2 other videos, I found you. So she was watching prepping videos, I guess 2 videos, and then she found me. Thank you, my friend, because I would have gone down the wrong road and by now crazy trying to get prepared for SHTF. Always remember that you're doing a wonderful job, which I do appreciate. I wish other people could have seen your videos before the true prepper videos. Well, that's not possible. I mean, off-grid, people are just now starting to go off-grid. Prepping has been around for a long time. The stockpiling thing, people are convinced you got to spend billions of dollars and have all the stuff. I keep saying downsize your lives, because the less you have, the less you got to maintain. Food, water, shelter, and defense. That's all you really need to think about. You don't need to worry about the dishwasher, which I've heard preppers say, I don't know how I'm going to run that dishwasher. Well, you get some water and some soap. You can even heat it up over firewood. You can make your own soaps, you know, that kind of stuff. And you can wash it in a tub. It's crazy. I mean, who would have thought that? You know, back in the day, they used to use these fancy things called sinks, but now that's illegal. You have to have a propane heater and a dishwasher. It's crazy. I just didn't know that. I honestly believe that I would have been in the nut house trying to prepare for SHTF. That's some scary stuff to make a person go crazy. Thank you again, my friend, and please let your wife know I said hello. And then she followed up after I asked her if I could use video. Yes, you can always read anything that I write on your channel. Every word I have spoken on here is the truth. I honestly meant every word I said. I really would have driven myself crazy if I hadn't found you on here. I truly believe that something big is going to happen in the USA, which is fine. I don't have a problem with people believing that there's something going to happen. It's that I don't want you stressing about it. That's the whole point of these prepping videos I make, these non-prepping videos, whatever you want to call them. I don't want you stressing. Just live a life, happy. Live your dreams, is what I say at the end of my videos. But I wanted to learn how to survive it without trying to put up 5 years of food and all the other stuff they say. I bought my chickens last spring. Oh, I didn't know that. I missed that part. That's great. And I'm building my life like you've built yours. If nothing happens, I will be happy and can live off grid. That's the thing. Let's say you spend a couple $100,000 on all this stockpile stuff, and then you die. Where's it go? Kids are going to sell it. But the way I live, I'm living with what I need, and I'm happy. No stress. You are more welcome to use anything I say. I feel so honored to have found you. You're an amazing man. Thank you, and I appreciate everything you have done to bring peace into my life. Now, I did not pay her for this. I do appreciate the comment. But it does reiterate what I've been trying to say, that if you're living in fear and you're constantly watching the news and you're constantly stressed and you're buying and buying, you need to back off. There are simpler ways of doing things. I know people don't like the can. but it's really the best method. Go can your food. You can pick up a canner at Walmart for like $70. You can find them in yard sales and Facebook Marketplace. You got to replace the seals. Just look it up and go on Amazon. You can replace the seals. And you can buy jars at Facebook Marketplace and yard sales. So you don't have to spend a fortune, is my point. You don't have to spend full price. Tadler lids, they're a little bit expensive for the initial purchase, but then they're reusable and you never have to buy them again. If you pay attention to the preppers, they don't have a plan. They pretend to have a plan, but when you really break down what they're saying, the plan is crazy. The preppers who tell me, I got an electric heat, but when things go bad, I got propane as a backup. Okay, and then what? You got to be able to say, then what? So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about a tragic event in my life. So if I can inspire you to live in peace when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.